All right, welcome into the program this morning. Good brother, Metropolitan African Methodist Episcopal Church. I was raised in the AME in Washington, D.C.
That is the National Cathedral of African Methodism. Let's be very clear about that. Yeah, I lived in Philly for almost 20 years. Mother Bethel is the mother church, but Metropolitan is the National Cathedral, brother. So this is and plus this is the man of the hour.
Yeah, man of the hour. Yeah,
This is the man of the hour.
recipient, Pastor William H. Lamar IV. Thank you for joining us this morning. Good to see you on this morning. This morning. How you feeling?
I'm good, brother. Good to see you. Good to see Dr. Carr. It's a joy to be with you.
Oh man, we glad. You know, as I told you before we started going, I'm a regular viewer. I'm in the extended congregation. I watch you on YouTube. I tune in because they stream every Sunday.
Got it.
No question. A lot of folks go to church that way now, but definitely stream. And in addition to just your long range work, and of course I got to shout out Florida A&M. This is a proud graduate of FAM. We public HBCU Negroes like to make sure y'all know we are sons of the soil, brother. So, but in addition to everything else, we were just talking before. Sam, our producer, and Daryl reminded us that you were on shortly after the thing that triggered what we're going to talk about today. You were talking with Joe about that, weren't you? Would you help?
Well, we actually got a clip.
You gonna play it? We're gonna play it. Make sure you can hear it, man. Yeah.
Do you compare burning the banners at your church in Ashbury to that of burning crosses? What's your feeling? I wanted people to hear this.
I think that burning crosses is a sign of terror. Let's be clear. It was a sign to keep Black people from participating in the political system and to frighten us out of economic security and building together. So many of the cross burnings happened when Black people were organizing to leverage our power to vote, and they happened when Black economic strength was improving after the moment of enslavement through Reconstruction. And so I think that this is it's a similar act to say to us, to communicate clearly that you ought not participate in the political system, that you ought not participate and thrive economically, and that you ought to see yourself as we see you, as less than human and as less than a citizen. And in the midst of all of that, we have never, ever, ever capitulated. We have never, ever been quiet. We have never, ever gone into the corner and sunken our heads, but we've stiffened our backs. We've raised our voices, we've written, we've sung, we've preached, we've marched, we built banks, universities. We will keep coming. In the words of the great poet Sterling Brown of Howard University, strong men, strong women keep coming. You can't stop us.
Now, I think it's safe to assume that banner is going to go back up.
Oh, yes, sir. I'm of the hip-hop generation, and LL Cool J had an album called Bigger and Deffer. So the banner will go up bigger and blacker as soon as possible.
That's beautiful, man. With the ancestor Joe Madison.
Yeah. Now, did it? Were you guys able to put a bigger and blacker banner back up on the church?
As I was talking to the ancestor Joe, it was already in the shop being built, man.
You ain't been by there, Lamar?
No, I haven't.
They was like, we dare y'all come back over here.
Yeah.
In fact, word on the street is you was trying to go down there the day they pulled it down. Somebody had to stop you from going down there and handling this thing outside the courts, brother. But look, as I told the person that told me that, hey, man, just tell me where to be because we got to line up and help him on that. I'm glad they stopped you, though. Because I know. But remind folk, man, because this was that first Trump term, right?
Mm-hmm.
What actually happened, Rev, for some people who may be listening for the first time on that?
Yeah, thanks, Doc. So this was in December of 2020, and we were still in the height of COVID, so we weren't gathering in person. And they came. They were in town for whatever they come to town to do, and they assaulted the property of Metropolitan, Asbury, and maybe another church or two. They tore our sign down, and they videoed it, and they posted it to social media, to Twitter, now X, and to other places. And they gloried and reveled in that destruction. And you can see the clip. They may have taken it down now, but when I'm in court, our lawyers play it, and they are shouting all manner of epithet. It is
vile, it's disgusting, it's infantile. I mean, actually, I shouldn't say infantile because infants deserve better. It is misanthropic. Misanthropic.
Yeah, and I'm from now that I think about it, I am familiar with the church because I used to do community service in the basement. I used to they used to do the toiletries and the breakfast. We used to do it with my frat chapter in the basement of Asbury. Now that I think about it, now Enrique Tario, one of the Proud Boys or the founder of the Proud Boys, he was serving 22 years, and we're talking about the good news that came out this week. But he was in for 22 and then got pardoned, just a week ago, a couple weeks ago. When you initially heard that, what did you think about? What did you immediately go to first?
Well, what happened for me, I said America is American or America is.
Yes, sir.
That the leveraging executive power to exonerate politically violent individuals is a big part of how we got in the mess where we are in. So white men who rebelled against the United States, who were interested in perpetuating slaveocracy, they were forgiven. They were exonerated. They were not punished. And so the myth of the lost cause, and let's be clear, neither the North and Lincoln were not interested in our liberation either, but we always have had to make practical political and pragmatic decisions here. But this is of a piece. It is of a piece with erasing what really happened on January 6th. It exonerates and lifts and deifies these people to some patriotic status. And what it will do is embolden the next generation of politically violent white supremacists. This is a long-term strategy that the wealthy have always used, wealthy white people, to gin up the dispossessed white masses, feeding them. I mean, Du Bois talks about the wages of whiteness. Well, they feed them whiteness like you can eat it. That's right. Like you can live in it.
That's right.
And what we need to understand is that anti-blackness has always been the fuel of this.
Absolutely.
And so our ancestors have been here, we are here, and we've got to exert ourselves like we haven't exerted before. I really feel like there's a quiescence and a comfort amongst black folks today that I don't think that I see in our history. And we need to wake up because this is serious.
No question. In fact, you all stepped in the breach leading in how to do that. And I want to ask you, certainly we can't stop what they're going to do. Obviously, this guy's been pardoned. And then on the eve of them going and committing the act that led to him going to jail in the first place, they did this act there at Metropolitan in Asbury, tearing down the Black Lives Matter sign, reveling in it, as you said. At what point did you gather the community and make the decision to use the law as a weapon in this regard? Could you walk us a little bit through what the thinking was? Because, of course, we're here on the eve of this great victory, but it had to start somewhere. So, I mean, how did y'all work that out?
See, Doc, this is why you are the jailbreak the Black University man. I'm listening. You got to check it out. Because that is the question. So I was sitting on the steps in my basement when I got the news. It was Sunday morning. So I was trying to get prepared to do the whole YouTube thing, the whole virtual thing. And I sat, and ancestral power came over, an ancestral calm that communicated with me, as Du Bois would say, from beyond the veil, that this is your time to do our work.
Yes, sir.
And so what I did immediately is I got through what I needed to get through on Sunday as best I could, and I gathered the leaders together, because our model of leadership is that we lead communally, we discern communally. And I said, I've heard from Cornell Brooks, I've heard from the Lawyers Committee, I've heard from Kristen Clark. They want to set us up to fight this leader. And I felt the spirit of Elizabeth Freeman, Bombette. I felt the spirit of Ida B. Wells Barnett. I felt the spirit, especially of these sisters, who, when the brothers often have shrunk. So in Ida B. Wells' case, she came to Black A&E preachers like me in Chicago, and we shooed her away. And she said, "The hell with y'all. I'm gonna fight." So what I decided to do with the community is to stand up and to fight and to exert all the legal pressure. And let me say that the firm that has been doing a lot of the work, Paul Weiss, listen, y'all, they represented the Scottsboro Bowl.
Yes, yes.
They represented Marshall in Brown versus Board. This is a Jewish firm that has been doing this kind of work for a long time. They know how to do it, and they have extraordinary resources, them and the Lawyers Committee coming together. So we decided, and let me say, it is rare in a church or anywhere that all agree. But I had 40 people, and everybody was ready to go.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
That's impressive. Yeah, man.
And so what ended up happening was February 3rd, a groundbreaking ruling made by Judge Tanya M. Jones-Bossier of the Superior Court of the District of Columbia granted Metropolitan AME ownership of the Proud Boys trademark and logo. The decision also gives the Metropolitan AME Church a lien on the trademark and the power to block the Proud Boys from using the trademark or selling licensed goods like T-shirts or hats without the church's approval. That angle, to further your question, that angle was that team? Was that something that you it came from you, or like who would even thought to go that route in that way?
Lamar, I would love to take credit for it. What happened was because they disrespected and defied the order of Judge Kravitz to make us whole to the tune of $3 million. The legal team said the way that we get the money is to figure out what they have of value.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a trademark, which they use to sell merchandise, which they use to whip up support, which they use to rally purchase. And the judge's order grants us wide berth to cease and desist. Now, we are clear that more litigation will come from this because we know, and Tario himself said, that he would defy this, that the judge should be impeached, that we should have our tax exemption revoked, all manner of things that has no footing in the law. So, it was their strategy. Find what they had. That it's similar to the Southern Poverty Law Center strategy when they went after the Klan.
Mm-hmm.
Break them.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to ask about that, Real, because and you're right. Paul Weiss, in fact, they just sponsored one of the annual symposiums over at the Howard University School of Law. So their reputation, like you say, is century, man. They just really have been on the wall fighting for our common humanity. I'm curious, as you all entered court, were you able to go after the Proud Boys because their leader was one of the people who participated? I mean, because people might think, well, how could you sue the Proud Boys? Only a handful of them. Could you talk about, because, this is a teachable moment. You actually there's some young people out there listening who might decide they want to go to law school. Mm-hmm. This is why you go to law school. Mm-hmm. How did y'all even get them in court in the first place?
See, that's an excellent question. This is because almost to a person, everyone who was there was arrayed in Proud Boys paraphernalia and regalia.
Uh-huh.
And the Proud Boys themselves took responsibility.
There it is.
Because on their social media, they claimed that they did. And they were chanting their chant while doing it. So it is unmistakable that the group responsible were Proud Boys, and we went after them at the highest level of their leadership. And they never, Tario himself, they came after us. They were proud of what they did, and they amplified it.
So during the time you all were in court, they were outside of court, social media, trying to intimidate? So
we got to go back with the timeline. So it was a default judgment because they never appeared.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
They would not show up. And we actually negotiated with some of them. One of them said that I can't remember the legal terms, Doc. I know you have a law degree. You may be able to help me here. But we went after him personally. And in order for to resolve it, he paid us $1,500, and we accepted it. And he's released from. So literally that Sunday, I held up. I said, "We have a check for $1,500."
Yes, sir.
For white supremacy. Y'all come up and get this. Come up here and get this money.
Come get this money. Mm-hmm. Oh man, that's beautiful.
Yeah. It has been for the congregants. One of the families testified, a young mother and her son, and she said how her son said, "Mama, we want to go by and see the church. We want to." She talked about the emotional distress, how they wanted to protect the space. They wanted to find out how the church was, how the people were doing. When we are at our best, in the words of J. Cameron Carter, the black church is a fugitive religion, right? It is not the religion of the empire. It is not. I mean, how is it theologically that we formed Nat Turner in one generation, and we have formed that Negro who did the benediction at Trump's inauguration at another? I don't.
That's why I love this brother right here. That ain't the God I'm talking about, right? This is not what I'm talking about. But you know, I think maybe, I don't know, Doc, maybe it was joint and several liability. So that means anybody participated is responsible for the full amount. But you all let him out. You could have kept him in, right? I mean, he was on the hook for as much as everybody else. But that also shows a form of humanity. It's like y'all really are teaching the whole
from the church, the place they tried to desecrate.
No question. Which is the whole point. Because to your point, they consider themselves Christians. So I mean, you know, at least Tario,
the irony of that.
I mean, just like we just heard Reverend Lamar say, it ain't the same. It ain't the same religion.
You know what I find fascinating about this ruling? Some more language from it is that Metropolitan AME can now collect funds from sales of Proud Boy merchandise as well as membership dues. That's amazing. So the group can stay and function and grow. And
with their permission.
With your permission. And the dues come home. The dues are coming home. Like that's amazing. That's an amazing layer to this ruling. That I don't know if I'm familiar, if I've seen that in any other type of thing.
Can you imagine the karmic beauty of this? where our people have had to ask for permission to live and breathe and move in certain spaces. In many Confederate states, black people couldn't meet without the presence of a white man.
Yes.
And here we are. If this judgment
intend, if it is respected.
And you see the table turning. So it's an extraordinary moment.
Yeah.
And I want everyone to know that we are not losing heart, because we're 5 years in. We fully expect it could be 5, 10, 15 more.
Sure.
But we will not profane.
Yeah, because he says, Tario says in a quote on X, he says, "I hold in contempt any motions, judgments, and orders issued against me."
Well, I mean,
so he has no plans.
There's another irony in the rare, because it sounds like he took the same tactic as the maritime Negroes that say they Moors and are not subject to the laws of the United States. They should have asked Wesley Snipes about not being sub. Anyway, but that haven't been said. Only in America, man. Did you see? But you know, so I know there must have been a lot of conversation about this, and you must be doing a lot of thinking about this, even as this continues, and they're certainly going to appeal, and we know they're probably going to create their own like underground railroad and try to form outside of surveillance. And what do you think about? I mean, how are you thinking about the possibility of them going on? In other words, we'll do membership. We just get them the money. I mean, that's a philosophical question. I'm sure that's a different question. But would you even say to them, okay, well, now let's say they continue membership, and for some reason it overflows, they satisfy the judgment and go, I don't know. I mean, where are y'all about the possibility? Because
I think that our spiritual resource and Paul Weiss's legal and economic resources means that if they try to transform like Decepticons and do something different, we just gonna keep coming after them. Like whatever new iteration, I think, and you help me with this, Doc, with the legal language, I think that we can prove that it is the same thing in substance.
No question.
So there are strategies. What I want to extend is what our ancestors have always known. One of the most liberative things I ever read was reading Derek Bell. And he wasn't the first to say it, but he was the first I caught. He said that racism is permanent in America. And that was the most freeing statement I read, because you no longer exist in this space blind or expecting something that you will not get.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect that the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, their ilk, they will continue to form, to shape. They'll keep coming. but so will we. I mean, and I think that ultimately it's the Du Boisian question, where he said, up and fight on. Like, if you stay here, you got to be clear about what this is.
Yes.
And many people who have been taking a look at what we've been doing, they've called it chess versus checkers. And I think that's interesting because the best of our ancestral tradition always knew they were playing chess.
Yeah.
It's like Frederick Douglass having a conversation with John Brown.
Yeah.
You know, I've got to play chess on behalf of my people. Ella Jo Baker, dealing with King. We've got to figure out how to play chess long term for the masses. And let me just bring in Gerald Horn. I hate I was not here February 1st.
Yes.
But he's continuing to say we must be international in scope. How we connect this with what's happening in Germany,
Yes.
what's happening in Russia, the rise of fascism, the rise of white motivated demographic anxiety, and how they plan to visit hell upon people like us. And we got to be prepared, and we've got to be the best of who we've been.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're gonna see.
From the ancestral realm, I'm sure Bishop Turner is like, yeah, that's a member of my ministerial blood right there. If Bishop Turner said, yeah, internationalism, brother. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
That's a beautiful thing.
You're gonna see the Proud Boys turn into the Vanglorious Men. They're gonna,
No, but you know, I mean, actually, since you mentioned that, Rev, I know we've been seeing it on social media. I'm sure your inbox has been overflow with ideas of what to do.
Yeah.
I've been looking at all these like rainbow reconfigurations of Proud Boys. Like, I mean, and I know it's too early to really
Pride
talk
Boys.
about that at this point, but even as we know, they're going to probably appeal and go on. What kind of things are people saying to you, like in the wake of this?
I have gotten from some brilliant folks on social media ideas of what to do. Let me simply say, we plan to use the trademark.
Oh, so you're going to use it? Okay.
Yeah. And I want to ask your audience to be prepared to support us.
Ooh, nice.
And we will figure out a way to learn from what you all are sending to us. And should this go the way that it can go, we want to figure out how not to be a reservoir, but a conduit to help other they're trying to get the work done.
Yeah. Last thing for me, with this particular, right here, right now, with this particular ruling, how is it enforced? Or how do they plan to enforce it?
Who was it that said, was it Andrew Jackson, tell the Supreme Court to enforce what it is? So it will only, we know very much like other things we're seeing, they will test and try. But right now, the law is on our side, and we'll keep coming. If they use, we will sue. And here's another thing: I know that there are resources supporting them, but I'm not sure. It will probably come down to a battle of resources.
Oh man!
Because a lot of the gentlemen that with the $1,500, they know that it will cost them dearly to keep coming. Some more will fold. But what I'm saying is, because of our ancestral tradition, we have unlimited spiritual resources. We have others who have very, very deep pockets who believe in the work. And I think that if we work together to self-fund in ways, we'll keep it going. But Brother Lamar, you're right. Enforcing will be difficult. And I think it will be suit after suit, more legal strategy to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we know we're grateful you spent some time with us today, Reverend Lamar, and like another one of our brothers and one of your brothers in the ministry who is also out here swinging with both fists, Reverend Barber, who we talked to last week, William Barber. We hope you'll come back in this space and continue to not only teach, but to really inform us, and love that, man, a conduit, not a reservoir. And so, we sit here in the Black Eagles nest, and saw you last night on Roland Martin, night for last on Roland Martin. And so we know that you really occupy those Black media spaces, and we want and need you to come back to continue this conversation with us. We hope you will.
For Dr. Greg Carter to say I've been teaching is like Muhammad Ali said I've been throwing some punches. Like Jack Johnson said I got to knock out throats.
Oh no! See, that's a minister. That's a master. No, we got Mutual Appreciation Society going on. This is the man right here, though. We'll be talking to you soon, though, Bob. Oh, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you.
Oh, listen,
No,
man.
thank you. And I understand you're on your way to mentor a group of young men at Duval High School in Prince George's County. My rival high school from Eleanor Roosevelt, and I got to say, they need mentorship over there.
Don't
They
do
really
that. Don't do that. Don't
they really need that.
This man love all black people. He's not gonna pick no sides. Reverend William H. Lamar IV, pastor, Metropolitan African Methodist Episcopal Church, the National Cathedral of African Methodism. Public scholar, intellectual. I know that label gets bandied about far too much, but this is a brother who is not just public facing. He is rooted in the community. And on this, the eve of the victory over the Proud Boys, and we know the struggle is never completely over, but we know the freedom is in the trying. We just want to thank you, brother, and we look forward to talk to you real soon again in this space.
Appreciate it.
God bless you both. Appreciate y'all.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate you too, Bob.